Hello viewers, welcome back to our discussion on photochemistry. In today's session, we will take up the consequence of absorption of radiation by atoms and molecules, and thereafter we will see what happens to the molecule or the atom what you get as a consequence of excitation because of the radiation there. The session is planned as follows, that is, to begin with we will briefly review the contents of the previous session. Thereafter, we will take up the consequence of absorption of radiation. In this process, we will see what happens in case of atoms and what happens in case of molecules when these species interact with radiation there. Having done that, we will briefly touch upon singlet and triplet states, because this becomes pertinent in the context of more in the context of molecular systems. Thereafter, we will see what are these states and what does it signify. Then we will move on to Frank quantum principle. We will not move on, essentially we will try to recall, because this we have already covered in our electronic spectroscopy. We will try to recall it here, because it is very pertinent for our discussion to follow. Thereafter, we will move on to Jablonski diagram. These are very important set of diagrams which help us depict the processes involved in activation and deactivation of molecules, because activation as a consequence of absorption of radiation and thereafter the deactivation. The deactivation process actually has two types, one is a non-radiative one and the second is a radiative one. We will talk more about it as we proceed. We will be taking up only the non-radiative deactivation in this session. The radiative deactivation we will take up in the next session there, and towards the end we will try to sum up what we have done today. Okay. So, with that kind of a brief outline, let us try to recall what we have done in the previous session. What we did in the previous session was, that is, we initially defined what is photochemistry. We defined it to be a branch of chemistry that deals with reactions caused in the presence of light and also the ones which are associated with emission of light. Thereafter, we differentiated, we spent time on differentiating between photochemical and thermal reactions. Thereafter, we stated and explained the laws of photochemistry and discussed their significance. We talked about two laws there, you all remember that. Thereafter, we briefly recalled that how do we explain the absorption of radiation in terms of Bohr's frequency rule, followed by we stated and explained Bohr's Lambert law and Beer's law, which related the intensity of transmitted radiation and that of the incident radiation. So, now that we have done in the previous session. Now, with that kind of a background, let us now take up what are the consequences of absorption of radiation. In this context, we will talk about the consequence of absorption of radiation by atoms. Thereafter, we will talk about the consequences of absorption of radiation by molecules, because the two are different kind of systems. We will begin with the simpler systems, that is the atoms. Now, in case of atoms, absorption of radiation typically leads to the transition amongst the electronic energy levels. You remember that we know that in case of an atom that we have a nucleus and there are different electronic energy levels which are quantized energy levels there, and any radiation which we give to atoms, this basically leads to transition amongst these energy levels there. And this kind of a diagram called as Grotian diagram, this is shown for sodium. So, here we see the variety of energy levels are there. So, suppose this is my ground state here, if I give suitable photon, the transition can take place to different energy levels over there. So, primarily it leads to electronic excitation, that is very simple in the case of atoms. Now, let us move on to absorption of radiation by molecules. The moment we come to molecules, things get slightly more involved, because if we want to talk about the energy of a molecule, we know that a molecular energy has got 4 components, because suppose a molecule is there, it is moving around, it executes translation motion or it undergoes rotation, has vibrations and also got electrical energies there. So, the total energy is made up of 4 small components, and out of these 4 components, 3 of them, that is the rotation energy, vibration energy and electrical energies, are quantized, and they are represented in terms of an energy level diagram as shown over here schematically, wherein these are the this is ground electronic state, this is excited electronic state, and within the ground electronic state what we have is we have got different vibration energy levels, and within a given vibration energy level there are different rotation energy levels there. This also tells you the magnitude of those energy levels, we will talk about that a little later. Now, in this whole thing, the translation energy is not quantized, because and we are not bothered about that also, because that is not of our concern, because when we give radiation, essentially that will lead to transition amongst these energy levels I have just mentioned about there. To be specific, what happens is, if a molecule absorbs radiation in the range of say UV or visible, it causes transition amongst the electronic energy levels. That's a prime thing. That means we have this is my ground state, this is excited state. So, we have transition from ground state to excited state there, and most of the transitions will originate from the vibrational ground state of electronic ground state here and lead on to different energy levels over there. So, what we see is that these electronic excitations are accompanied by vibrational and rotational transitions. We can see that say from V is equal to 0 level, it is to 0, this is going to first one, this is another to first one, to second one. So, it means from a given level it can go to any of the vibration energy levels or any of the rotational energy levels. So, this vibration and rotational energies are kind of the excitation of rotation and vibration is in addition to the electronic excitation there. So, that is what happens in case of a molecule. Okay. So, that is why in that sense our atomic systems and molecular systems are different. If you look at the delta E values, that means what are the magnitudes of different kind of quantized energy levels, you see that the delta E rotation is typically about a few centimeter inverse, 1, 2, 5 centimeter inverse, whereas delta E vibration, that means the vibration energy levels are farther apart, rotation energy levels are very closely spaced, vibration energy levels are farther apart, and electronic energy levels are much farther apart. Okay. So, in terms of relative magnitudes, so delta E rotation is about a few centimeter inverse, delta E vibration is about 1000 centimeter inverse or 10 to the power 3, whereas delta E electronic is about 10 to the power 4 to 10 to the power 5 centimeters, which is much larger, or roughly we can say that delta E electronic is about 1000 times delta E vibration, which in turn in terms of rotation it is about 1000 times, which is much larger. So, the implication of this is that when we are considering electronic excitation, we can ignore the rotational transitions. So, primarily we will be talking about electronic excitation coupled with the vibration transitions, because they are not ignorable, because it is about 0.1% of that, whereas rotational energies are much too small to be considered. So, they can be ignored without losing any information. So, that is the importance of these magnitudes over there. Okay. Now, essentially how do we represent now? How do we represent the excitation of a molecule on absorption of radiation? That can be shown something like this. That means, herein I have just removed all the rotation energy levels. So, we got a ground electronic state, excited state over there, and then we have this is a molecule in the ground state, it picks up a photon and goes to excited state there. So, you see that from a vibrational ground state it can go to any of the vibration states of the excited system there. So, that is the way we represent a typical excitation of a molecule. Now, in case of molecules, I am just trying to touch up a few things which are very important for our understanding of the things which we want to follow up. In case of molecules, typically because we know that when we talk about electronic energy levels, must have seen in the context of when we talked about chemical bonding and all, we know that in case of molecules there are different molecular orbitals. Like in case of atoms, you got atomic orbitals, and for a generalized molecular energy level diagram for a typical organic molecule could be something like this. We have got sigma orbitals, pi orbital, non bonding, and pi star and sigma star. That is a typical kind of orbitals, and also their energies are in this order, and they are the possible transitions in that case. Now, in case of molecules, typically the bonding orbitals are completely filled, and sometimes even the non bonding orbitals are filled. So, that is a general observation we have about molecules. Further, typically when we give a radiation to a molecule, the transitions will occur from the highest occupied molecular orbital, it could be bonding or non bonding, and it will lead to lowest unoccupied molecular orbital called as LUMO. So, from HOMO to LUMO, that is the kind of transitions we have. Now, typically when we talk about photochemistry, we are concerned with the radiation in the range of 200 to 800 nanometer, that is UV visible range, and these radiation got energy sufficient enough to cause transition among N to pi star and pi to pi star transitions. So, that is what we are going to observe in such cases. Now, another thing which I want to make a point of here is that is these electronic transitions typically originate from singlet state. Let us understand the meaning of a singlet state here, because in the ground state of a molecule, the molecular orbitals are occupied by 2 electrons. When they are occupied by 2 electrons, so according to Pauli's principle, the spins of these 2 will be anti-parallel. So, one will be pointing upwards, one will be downwards, and the 2 put together will have a total spin of 0, which will lead to a singlet state, and such states are represented as called as singlet state and they are labeled as S0. So, typically most of electron transitions will originate from a S0 state. Okay. Where do they land up there? So, once the molecule gets excited, so in the excited state what happens is the electron spins in the excited molecules may either be parallel or anti-parallel. Let us see what happens. So, this is my starting point here S0, the 2 spins are anti-parallel, and when I give photon to that, give energy to this, one of the spins gets up here. So, the excited molecule can be like this, that means the 2 spins are anti-parallel. So, this will be a singlet state, since it is the first singlet state over there, it is called as S1. Other possibility could be that the 2 spins are parallel. So, this will be termed as a triplet state, because it will have a multiplicity of 3. Okay. So, ground state will be S always singlet, excited state could be a singlet or a triplet one. These are very important when we talk about Jablonski diagram. Now, the state with parallel spins, as I just mentioned, is called as a triplet state, and the one with the anti-parallel spin is called as a singlet state. Let us see what are the characteristics of these singlet and triplet states. Typically, the lifetime of excited states, a singlet state is of the order of 10⁻⁹ to 10⁻⁶ seconds, whereas therefore, triplet state it is about 10⁻⁵ to 10⁻³ seconds. What does it mean is that the singlet states are short lived, whereas triplet states have got longer lifetimes there. They have a very important consequence, we will talk about that later. Secondly, the energy of a triplet excited state is typically lower than that of a singlet state. So, as a consequence of these 2 characteristics, what happens is we can say that the singlet excited state is usually more reactive, because it has got high energy and also it has got lower lifetime there. So, it is more reactive. Another thing which probably will be pertinent for our discussion to follow is that when an electronic transition takes place, it is governed by what is called as a spin conservation rule, which reads as follows, that is the transition between the states of different multiplicities are forbidden. This is very important. What it implies is that a typical excitation will be from say S0 for a singlet state to S1 or S2 state. So, that is the kind of excitation we will have, and also a singlet to triplet or vice versa, or a triplet to singlet state transitions are forbidden, because essentially they have to be spin conserved. That means, singlet to singlet is allowed, triplet to triplet will be fine, but not across them. So, that is very important. We will talk more about it when we talk about Jablonski diagram. Let us recall one more important principle about which we have learnt in electronic spectroscopy, that is called as a Frank-Condon principle. You will recall that according to this principle, the electronic transitions take place so very fast, it is in the time domain of about a femtosecond. They are so fast that the molecule does not get an opportunity to execute a vibration, and the consequence of this is that when the electronic transitions are taking place, the internuclear distance does not change, which implies that any transitions of this kind can be represented in terms of vertical arrows in energy level diagram. Let us see it diagrammatically. So, what you see is that this is my electronic ground state and this is my electronic excited state there, and you have these are vibration energy levels. Suppose the system to begin with is somewhere here. If I give energy to that, the excitation takes place. That is how do I represent the transition there, because that means whatever is the internuclear distance in the ground state, same is maintained over here. That is the implication of Frank-Condon principle, that is such transitions can be represented in terms of vertical arrows. They will be important later. Okay. Now, let us now take up, we have talked so far about the consequences and different principles involved in that process of excitation. That means, suppose you have a molecule, if you give radiation, it absorbs radiation, what can happen to the molecule? It undergoes excitation, what are the possibilities in that case, and what are the rules which govern them. Now, we want to take up what is the fate of this molecule which has got excited. To understand this, the obvious question is, because anything which is of higher energy is unstable, it will try to relax back, that is a law of nature. So, typically this excited state also will relax back to ground state by using different processes, and the processes could be of the one possibility is that this absorbed energy is given off as heat to the surroundings. This is called as a non-radiative relaxation. Second possibility is that absorbed energy, that means the molecule which is excited, it comes down to ground state by emitting a photon, giving out a radiation. This is called as a radiative relaxation. Such radiative relaxations of excited state is called as luminescence or photoluminescence, about which we will talk in detail in the next session. Now, the processes of electronic excitation and relaxation of the excited state can be represented in terms of a diagram called as a Jablonski diagram, which I have been telling again and again. It is very important thing which we have to learn. The diagram looks something like this, and it says everything about what is happening to the molecule in different processes involved in that. Now, we will take up the excitation and relaxation processes separately. We begin with the activation part of it. Basically, I am trying to see this diagram, but I am trying to talk about this diagram in small bits there, so that we can appreciate what is happening where. Okay. Now, when you come to activation, what basically it means is that you have a molecule in the electronic ground state, say S0 state, a given photon to that, a radiation to that, and now we can see that we are representing this excitation in terms of vertical arrows, vertical lines there. That means there is no change in the internuclear distance there. Second thing we are saying is that this is my ground state, which is S0, this is my excited state S2 or S1. That means excitation can take place to S1 or to S2, it has not gone to anything like T, because we know that our rule permits only transitions amongst the same spins. That means singlet transitions are allowed. So, S0 to S1 or to S2 are allowed. So, they are the possible consequences. That means, in case of an activation, the molecule in the singlet ground state will get excited to any of the possible singlet states over there in the excited state. That means, S1 or S2. Now, as regard deactivation, there are two types of processes involved. As I just mentioned earlier also, there are processes which are called as radiative processes, which are accompanied by emission of radiation, and the second one is a non-radiative processes which do not have any accompanied radiation emission. We will talk about non-radiative processes today. We will take up radiative processes in the next session there. Now, what are these non-radiative processes? Let us understand that. There are three such things there. One is called as a vibrational relaxation, second is internal conversion, and third is intersystem crossing. We will talk about each one of them one by one. Let us take up vibrational relaxation. What happens is the excited molecule which is in a higher vibration energy level, because we know that when the excitation takes place, it can be in any of the vibration energy levels in the excited state. So, this can undergo, this molecule which is excited can undergo collisions with other molecules. In the process, what happens? It loses energy, and it loses energy very fast, in about less than 10⁻⁻12 seconds, and this energy is lost to other molecules, and the molecule starts coming down to lower vibration energy levels. And this energy which is lost to other molecules, this goes as heat to the surroundings. So, that is what typically a vibrational relaxation means there. Let us see it with the help of Jablonski diagram. So, what we see is, say in this case, so this is my singlet ground state S0, from there the transition has come to this. So, we have got this molecule is in S2 level, and there are different vibration energy levels there. Suppose it is somewhere here. So, this molecule collides with other molecules, come down to this energy level. Yet another collision comes down here, comes down, comes down, comes down, it comes down to the vibrational ground state of this level. This is basically the meaning of vibrational relaxation. That means, the molecule relaxes from a larger vibration energy level to a lower vibration energy level. It can happen here, it can happen here also. That means, this is again vibration relaxation, and we can see it here also, that is even in the ground state also there can be vibration relaxation. That means, vibration relaxation primarily means the losing energy to other molecules as a consequence of collision there. Okay. That is one way the molecule can get deactivated, it comes from higher level to lower level. Second process which is basically a non-radiative process is called as internal conversion. Actually what happens is the molecules which are excited to higher state, say S2, when they reach the vibrational ground state in the electronic energy level, that means from S2, say S2 V5 was there, from V5 it comes to 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So, it has come to the vibrational ground state of S2 level. Now, one option is that it can come down further, or there is a possibility that suppose you have got another level nearby, this molecule can cross over there, that can get converted into, say, from S2 state to S1 state. The precondition is the two must have the same energy, and thereafter once it happens there, the molecule can continue to lose energy in terms of vibrational relaxation. Let us see it in terms of the diagram here. So, what basically I am trying to convey here is that is this molecule, say I take this molecule from here, it has gone here somewhere here, it gets vibrational relaxation, comes to this ground state. Thereafter, let me show you a slightly better diagram, you see it here. So, you have got a molecule in the S2 level here, higher vibration energy level, vibrational relaxation comes down to vibrational ground state. So, we find is that this vibrational ground state and in S1 level this excited state, vibration excited state, the two have got same energy. So, this molecule can transfer from S2 level to S1 level. Such kind of a transfer or conversion is called as internal conversion. So, what will happen is the molecule was here, relaxes down here, gets converted here, then once it comes here, it can continue to relax down and come down to this level. That is the meaning of internal conversion, that is, you convert from one energy level to another energy level, the precondition being that the two levels from where the conversion is taking place and to where it is going, the two must have the same energy. That is the second kind of non-radiative process involved in the deactivation of molecules. Let us take up the third one. This is called as intersystem crossing. Let me just briefly explain, then I show you diagrammatically again. Sometimes what happens is the molecule is in the vibrational state, let us say a singlet state there, but it may happen that when it relaxes down, it may transfer to some vibration level of a triplet state. Mind you, singlet to triplet transition is not allowed, but when the two energy levels are overlapping, there is a possibility that molecule can get shifted to a triplet state, and there again once it goes to this process is called as intersystem. Earlier was internal crossing, because they were both were singlets there. In this case, one is a singlet system, one is a triplet system. So, it is an intersystem crossing, and this spin exchange sometimes even allows that, though it is not very often it happens, so very rarely it does happen that you may have a molecule which is in a triplet state can go back to a singlet state there. Let us see it diagrammatically. So, what we are basically talking about is you have a molecule in the singlet excited state here, it vibrationally relaxes down here, then what happens is it goes from a singlet, say S1 state to a T1 state, it crosses over there, and again the precondition is the two must have same energy. So, when it comes there, it starts relaxing down and so on and so forth. Let us see it in a larger diagram here. You have molecule in the S1 state in a higher vibration energy level, it is relaxing down vibrationally, comes down to this ground state here, the vibration ground state, then it is getting, this is called intersystem crossing, it crosses from one system to another system, and then thereafter it undergoes vibrational relaxation again. So, we have talked about the non-radiative processes which contribute to deactivation of excited molecule. The radiative processes we will take up in the next session. Okay. Now, let us sum up what we have done today. What we have done today is we briefly reviewed the contents of the previous session. Thereafter, we discussed the consequences of absorption of radiation by atoms and molecules. We saw that in case of atoms it is only electronic excitation, whereas in case of molecules there were variety of excitations there, primarily electronic excitation coupled with rotational and vibrational excitation. Then we explained the meaning and characteristics of singlet and triplet states, because they are very important, the kind of states we talked about. I am sure that you would have appreciated that when you talked about the Jablonski diagram. Thereafter, we briefly talked, kind of recalled Frank quantum principle, which tells us how to represent such kind of excitations, and Thereafter, we discuss the processes of activation and the fate of electronic excited molecules in terms of Jablonski diagram. We have kind of limited our discussion only onto the process of activation and deactivation in terms of non-radiative processes. In the next session, we will talk about the deactivation of excited molecules by using what are called as radiative processes, wherein there is emission of photons. We will talk about phenomenon like fluorescence, phosphorescence, and many more things in that. Thank you so much.